So first up, we had discussion and update regarding Neola. I know we had a presentation at the last meeting from Neola, who is the largest. I didn't realize they had worked with, what did they say, 380
Yeah, it's a big
of the
percentage.
460 school districts in the state on the policies. I know Jody had started a cross-referencing of that. There's over 300, Neola has between 300 to 380 policies.
Their policy manual.
And our policy manual had how many?
280.
280. So they're similar, comparable in total number of policies, probably because state statutes mandate a lot of what you need to have covered by policies. I think what Jody was also asked to do was to start looking at which of our 280, which ones are really unique that would be added to that base format that Neola has. And I don't think you're not ready to
I am
report
not
out on
finished
that.
with that yet, no.
All right, that's a pretty big task, about probably 500 plus pages worth of policies to go
Because
through
I've
and
been
cross-reference.
comparing our policies with Delavan and Burlington. Delavan for just proximity, Burlington because they're similar in size to us. So I'm about halfway through.
Does Burlington use Neola?
Yes.
Okay.
And so does Delavan.
Oh, they do?
Yep.
Other thoughts or discussion from the policy committee related to Neola, or what your thoughts were related to that?
I thought it was a great presentation. I thought it's pretty kind of practical to do it. And we don't have that many that are, they said, what was it, 80% of the policy has to match with them for you to be able to implement it, or a number like that. Like if we wanted to have our own policy or rewrite it in our own way, we could still do it.
It was 90%.
90%. But generally speaking, having Neola would be, in my opinion, a benefit because we would have that one resource and then there would be continuity throughout. I like it. I'd be interested to see when you get done. But
Yeah,
for right now,
I still haven't formed a strong opinion one way or the other.
No.
I need more information.
And there's a significant cost to it too, so we're gonna have to weigh that.
Right.
And then an ongoing cost. So there's a lot to it. And there's more.
Yeah, I think, there's that initial setup, which I could see we could utilize from our legal budget if we wanted, because it's related to that sort of services and fees. And by going with someone like a Neola, it does give you that coverage or protection. I'm not saying either way, I'm just throwing out because I'm indifferent, whatever the board wants to do and which direction you want to go is fine. But we could use those resources if we wanted for that initial startup, because then I think the recurring was not nearly as substantial.
Yeah.
I think the initial was it about 15,000 for the original setup, off the top of my head.
Yeah, something like that. Ed or Devin, do either of you have some opinions that you want to share?
No, I'm in agreement with going, to the next step in evaluation. I think it's something we have to, closely consider. I'm more in favor than not in favor of doing it. So I really think it's something that long-term, it's going to be a benefit to the district.
So with Julia, I agree with Julia here. I think I need a little bit more information. Part of my issue is that that 90% rule of your policies have to match ours 90% of the time, or 90% of your policies, excuse me. And so
No.
It was,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
they have to agree, or that's for a specific policy.
So you're covered, Devin, if say they have a policy on, let's say, backpacks in schools. I don't know if they even have one, but if your modifications to that policy aren't greater than 90%, then you're covered by their legal guarantee and their legal oversight. And they'll
Gotcha.
If so, the board can have policies that aren't Neola's,
Right.
but you're not going to be covered on that policy by the legal services at all.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you very much for that information. I still, I mean, I would like to hear more, but I mean on the policy committee, I'm here just to listen.
Yeah, anything, then we'll look at that final analysis and then look at that once Jody has that work done. It's a big task and we'll bring that back and review again. And any final decision would go to the board as a whole.
Right.
For a vote on that. Okay. Health standards. And looking at, there was some request for some language change in regards to the standards.
This was stemming from the,
Yep,
okay.
the annual meeting,
Yep.
yep.
And so they wanted some clarification in regards to what communicable disease referred to. So proposing striking that and then adding the blue language.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I like,
There's clarity
Yeah.
where that
Yeah.
was a little nebulous.
Yep.
And then again, in grades 3, 5, using contagious instead of communicable. And 6A, just keeping that consistency. Grades 3, 5, striking 2A3. And then learning priorities, striking those and adding. Let's identify where to get help
Mhm.
to promote health. Okay. Grade 6A, striking locate, asking discuss how to find. Is that the last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't,
Alright.
that wasn't too much. Great
Yeah.
word change.
Minor changes, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So is everyone good to refer those to the board as a whole?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, I'm good with it.
Thank you.
Okay, Rule 553 related to hiring practices, requested updates related to that. And paragraph 2, recommending just striking all inquiries will be directed to the attention of the district administrator or designee. A lot of this, when this policy was originally written, it was prior to the utilization of WeCan, which is
Yeah.
a database that we use for all of our support staff and our professional staff hiring, which all those components are part of a WeCan file
Mhm.
that candidates put in place.
Can you scroll down to the, I think there was something that was added.
Yeah, so this was posted in, you want to look at number 4? Or
No, they had this.
right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was, I thought this was a great addition. So this is what we talked about a while ago about getting a little bit more, I'm gonna use the word involved. This allows for a school board member to be present in a director type, opening. I thought this was, and it was written, I like the way that this was written too.
Yeah.
The only question, so if, let me just read it. So the way that this is written, are we, oh, there it is, 2 pages. So the way that this is written, at least one parent, which I do agree with.
Do we want to add language there?
Or something? What if the parent isn't there? Does it restrict us in any way if a parent can't be there or we can't find a
Or we
parent?
can
or
find
anything like
another
that?
parent.
Yeah, like is that, this isn't restricting us too much is my question.
I don't think so, because It's one parent,
Yep.
it's not,
Yep, I'm all
it's
for it.
not a group of people, and this is.
You wanna include who is not an employee of the school district?
Yeah,
as
Sure.
the parent?
yeah, that'd
Sure.
be great, that'd be even better. I just don't wanna be limited if the parent, because we're all, we're gonna be there for this, right? Say the parent can't be there or something like that,
You'd have to find
Something
a
happens.
replacement.
we would have to find a
We'll
place
have to
at the last
scramble.
minute.
Right.
These ones are less
I was just gonna say, this is
Yeah,
more,
they're more
That's
planned.
why I'm good with that for head
Okay.
principal and
right,
directors, they're,
right,
That's why maybe having two parents in the mix, if one goes down,
well,
you're able to.
that's true, we could
Okay.
ask.
That's a good
for
point,
more than
Amy.
one.
that's
Yeah,
a good
cause I don't want the parent bails last minute and then we're
Sick-
kinda
Yep, you have a sick
up against the
child
wall.
and you've got people driving.
Yeah, cause it doesn't say we can't have more than one, just we have to have at least one.
right,
Cool.
at least one,
Likewise, I want
yes,
more than one board member scheduled, probably for those, yeah.
right,
Awesome.
And it is critically important that when we do these for consistency purposes, that when we have that they've gotta be able to be available for all the candidates for the interviews. Because then that doesn't open us up to
yes, yes.
legal issues related to having the same process for everyone.
Yeah, these types of hirings happen very infrequently
Right.
versus before, it was for all hiring, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be just insane to have parents to do that.
Now, we have had, I'm trying to think since, but we can still do that interview. It doesn't stay, I'm just thinking like if we had a associate principal that we know there's a strong consensus that we want promoted to a position, you can still set up the interview and go through that process to reaffirm or confirm that, yep, that's the person we want in that prior to,
Yeah,
does this
are you
restrict
asking
you
if
from
this is
promoting
for-
intern?
For internal and for external hires, or is that what you're asking?
Right, so for example, Sarah was appointed as an internal into that director position and we have had a handful of those for time. Even my position, originally the board, because they had worked with John Gendron and he had been in process, they brought him in as a single person to interview and look at for that position, I guess is what I'm saying. So it would prevent those type of appointments without at least having that interview. But I think that's probably good to have that interview with that one individual anyway. And then it could always be determined from there. Because I guess, does it require us, all questions in addition to insurance? Because I like to do any internal shifting before we post externally for what that job is. Is there anything in this policy that, I want to make sure the policy committee or the board is comfortable with that ability, or do you feel this is limiting in any way from doing that, if that makes sense? In the fashion that we want.
So as is on an internal shift, there is no committee? Is that, my understanding is right?
As of right now, there's not. I would look at number 2 as saying, when appropriate, the district administrator will post or authorize the posting of the position. The notice of the posting will contain title of position prior to, I think it doesn't speak to that at all. We probably should have some language speaking to that in regards to what the board wants.
Yeah.
There might be some language, and I'm pulling it up now, in our handbooks related to internal transfers.
Okay.
Which is also board policy.
Right,
But let me just pull that up.
Yeah, when it's an internal shift, we have to go as in depth. Or can it be, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, I kind of feel like if the person is already employed by us and hired by us,
Yeah.
and the district administrator feels like there's a solid reason for transferring that person into that position, I don't know that we need that whole,
Is there a full interview? So as is now, did you give Sarah a full interview yourself or something? Like, how did it work?
Sarah and I met and had a discussion. I discussed with their, her supervisor and so forth, but we felt that was the right fit, and then we would have
right,
posted or backfilled for whatever position was vacated
right.
for that individual.
Yeah, I guess I don't feel like we need to have this process in place for internal transfers.
But like when I did Sarah's, I brought that to the board as part of the personnel conversation, shared, this is what I would like to do, and the board
Right, and I don't, yeah,
signed off on it or gave the blessing.
and that's
to do that.
great,
Yeah.
but I don't know that we need to have a whole interview process with parents involved and,
So we probably need another clause in there related to internal staff hiring.
yeah, probably need to define that.
Yeah,
I mean, do you feel the same way, or how
I
about
do.
you?
I don't think it needs to go to the extent of, but I think that there should be an option for, maybe have an option for a board member to be present, I know it can
Sure,
always be, or
yeah.
something like that. Just so that there could be, and then maybe you,
What I think it was, like I still, even for a head principal or a director position, I would still want to run that by the board and have their approval
Yes.
before, if we're not going to do the interview
Yeah,
process.
yeah,
So I think we should have some
Yeah.
language in there. For the other positions, we wanna, like when they're lateral moves, we don't want to, how do I put it,
bog us down,
bog us down with
Yeah.
that. We just wanna do those shifts
Yep.
yeah,
and then make those determinations and then post what the open position is.
sure.
But I feel that's where I would view, where appropriate, the district administrator will post or authorize the posting of the position. Meaning, is we shift and reassign people all the time
Yeah.
to different positions.
Yep.
But I do feel when it's the principal positions, director positions, that should be signed off by the board.
Yeah.
If it's an internal
Yeah,
transfer.
yep. How do we write it? That would be,
Okay, I think we should go back and
Have
add
that
language
language.
related to that and then bring it
Yeah.
back. If
Okay.
that's all right, rather than wordsmithing it
yeah,
now, does that make sense?
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Ed, any thoughts on that?
Yep, I'm good with that.
Okay. All right, so conceptually though, the board would be okay with those internal transfers, but the board approving internal transfers of principals and
Yes,
yeah,
directors.
yeah.
Mhm.
All right. And or the board could do that with superintendent, whatever, that would be their prerogative.
what happened? That was weird, I just had an off snap. Oh.
You lose your
I
internet?
want, no, I still have internet.
Okay. The anti-racism policy. Where we had left off last time, the discussion was to strike all the definitions. And then also to modify the policy to just focus on the racism piece, not the other components, correct?
Devin, can you see all this?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay.
I would ask the policy committee, do you feel that number 2 is relevant and necessary to maintain in there? The highlighted area?
shall establish, I don't think we need to say shall establish. I'm
What do
gonna
we
strike the whole
currently
thing
have?
for me.
Do we have something like that right now?
We had a volunteer group that it's originally had met together. We had a couple meetings, but that kind of fizzled, to be frank. I don't see Sarah from the middle school, high school, do we see,
Do you see a need for?
No, because we look at those things as school leadership team through the data.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Just
you.
strike the whole
Yeah,
thing.
I'm fine taking it out.
I always forget where to.
Format and then text.
This is done as part of our, if there are any other areas that we want stricken as policy committee, that's fine with that. I feel
I
like
remember
it's a
we
very
talked about this last
Yeah.
time.
labor intensive one. This is done in the data retreats. They
Yep.
do look at that to see what are our,
Mhm.
so for example, if, 60% of our non-poverty students are taking AP classes, but only 30% of our poverty, what are things we can do, not to reduce our non-poverty? What are the roadblocks or things that we're seeing that might prevent our students of poverty from taking? Is it they're worried about the testing fee, or
Mhm.
how do we overcome that? So I think we do that, we look at that.
Yeah, I'm good with those changes. Wait,
Oh, sorry.
can you, I just wanna look at number 3 here. Okay. Is there a problem with the word interschool? Is there supposed to be hyphenated? It's underlined, yeah.
Hmm.
It's either supposed to be 2 words or. That's weird. I would hyphenate it, but that's just me.
Number 2, let's look at that real quick. What is the training about? What is the training that goes on currently?
Our last training that we did that was all staff district-wide, was called OUCH training, and it's.
Ouch.
Ouch. Ouch, that stereotype hurts, and so making people aware of stereotypes around different groups of people and how to not only recognize that it's a stereotype, but then how to address it in the classroom when a student may use negative language or something like that, to make sure that those things are addressed and
Yeah.
not just left undone.
I'm not comfortable with this line right here.
Thank
In
you.
the sense that, because
Right,
that wasn't part of the ouch training. Anyway, I think the ouch training was very good because it gave people also the tools, like when, say someone's telling an inappropriate joke at the staff lunch, like ouch, that kind of their cue that, hey, you're crossing the line, we don't
Right.
go there, but I don't.
I have zero
Yeah.
problem with this training and what ouch sounds like, but things like
Yeah,
this
sure.
need to
Yeah.
be.
I think we could even replace that with, and
With
we'll,
language
it
from
will be like, we'll review this policy with new staff. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they would be introduced to, I mean, we have 300 policies, but of all policies, this one is perhaps more important than some of those other policies.
Gotcha.
Also part of the student handbook, so with it being in there, new staff would be introduced to it.
Combination lockout.
I feel like we need to maybe expand on that first sentence though, a little bit. School district staff shall be trained about racism, but with regard to what?
And let's use language from that.
Okay.
Yes, that makes the most sense, I guess, and I just release something from that about training on stereotypes and biases and how to address those in the classroom.
Yeah,
Something
but
to that effect.
if we could make the statement say something like to that effect.
Yeah, that was when this policy was created, and that was some of the feedback that we received. The reason why we adopted the OUCH training was we heard from a number of former students that the teachers would hear something and not say anything. And therefore it was perceived that they were
Accepting of it.
accepting of it.
Right.
When in reality, when talking about adults, it's like, I don't know what to say.
Correct.
You know, how do I
So
address
that
that?
goes
Or
both
how do I?
sides saying
yeah.
you need help.
No, I fully support this. This is
Yeah.
good. The language is just the important part.
Yeah, I'm gonna put insert language, we'll work on that language. But from OUCH training. Is that video available, that like introduction video available online?
Yeah, that's what we did with the new,
Okay,
yeah,
I'd like to check that out.
yeah. It's, yeah, we did
Here,
the
let me send
short
it to you guys
video.
right now.
This is pretty good, I thought.
I mean, if you'd send it to me as well, that'd be great. I appreciate it.
Well, do you guys want the actual training or just the website?
For
Training
me,
will cost us
would be
money.
great.
No,
Okay,
the website's fine.
okay.
Yeah, and it's about a 10-minute overview video. The actual training, Gateway had a grant and they provided the training for us that first round, but we feel that the 10-minute video is what we do with our new staff, right?
That's what we do with our new staff, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's actually a little bit more than 10 minutes, it's like 18, but yeah,
Okay.
anyway.
It also in our, it's not just support staff, but we tend to have more complaints to HR in our support staff as it relates to interpersonal reactions and comments made, but we've had some from professional staff as well, so I think it's been,
I'm confused by why we're reporting the policy enforcement number 1 to the curriculum council and not to the school board.
we're at.
Policy enforcement number 1.
We can leave it to the, let's see, staff collect. I think that was viewed as part of the, something that would be covered in the curriculum instruction retreats.
With the
But we
data
could do
review.
it
Yeah.
as a
It's there.
separate review.
I
We
see,
can leave it as is.
I do see where I would go to Kurt. I mean,
Yeah, but there's things in there that curriculum council wouldn't have anything to do with. Suspension, discipline, you know, like,
oh, I see, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like there's some things in there, a few things with, but
I mean, I tend to agree with Julia here. I mean, the curriculum council, there's so many things in that data that's going to be important that just going to the curriculum council, it just seems kind of like a waste. Into this full school board might be the best place for it.
yeah, I'd rather it come to the school board rather than the curriculum council personally.
Okay. Well, there's nothing that prevents whatever that data piece is
Right, I
shared.
mean,
that we
if
just-
it's,
shared in
if
both
it's,
places.
if it's relevant to what we're talking about in curriculum, great, but as far as a,
You're right, Julia.
Yeah.
And we'll just need to calendar this as one of the,
Because right now.
one of the director
nothing is
reports or.
Coming to any committee report.
yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't know if, I mean, we already have other policy related to this, but this whole procedures for investigating
we have other policy for that?
Yeah, is this just repetitive or, yeah,
Yeah, that's
the
our-
It doesn't
411
feel-
rule,
yeah.
student discrimination complaint procedures, we already have another.
Yeah, that's repetitive. Let's keep this simple.
Right.
That's the end of that. So what we'll do for next time, just go back and we'll grab some added language, or do you want us to add that language and send it for a first reading? Or do we want to bring it back to policy committee again?
Yeah.
I just.
Yeah, because let's do first reading, because we
Generic
still have,
language
we
on
still have the
this.
opportunity to change things.
Yep.
So,
We want to add to number 3 since we struck the rest.
yeah,
Number 3 was like the precursor to how to go about doing that. Do we
Okay.
want a statement in there that we would, similar to harassment policies or procedures, like I think it should say that procedure will include like just one more statement, because all that we just struck was the how to do that.
which number 3 are we talking about?
Right there, go up one, Jason.
I have an idea, why don't we say,
You see right here, it says,
Oh, under policy.
that was like leading up to how do you do this?
Yep,
So if a parent feels that,
yep,
obviously there was a incident of racism that was very well laid out, I feel like we just need a statement there to direct them as to where they would find that.
yes, for sure. Like a hyperlink,
Mhm.
how about that?
Yep. That's exactly it.
okay.
Well, looking at, what was our other, hiring, do you want us to add that other language and also take that for a first reading, or do you want that to come back to review that?
There was just one,
Just that one
the one
section?
thing, yeah, I'm fine,
Okay.
yeah, put it through to first reading.
I guess I didn't know you could do that. That's great.
Yeah, because we still have the opportunity to make
Yeah.
additional
The bulk
tweaks to
of it's
language
good, then we
if
could
there's
just-
something we're not.
Cool.
Yeah, it's just bringing it to the full board so that we don't have to waste more time bogging it here.
Absolutely. Love it.
All right,
Love it.
early graduation. Updating it to be district inclusive.
Yeah, no issues with any of this.
As the added language is, do we want that
Yes.
to require that exit meeting?
Yeah, I think it's important, I don't know if it has to be the district administrator, but, or maybe it could be, or designee. I feel like there's been enough kids that we've seen some comments
Mhm.
where I would just like to have some kind of follow-up with them, like, can we get you additional help? Or can we, like, what else can we do for you to help you? Because there's been a few,
Good. Because they are meeting with their counselors to go through that.
yeah,
I wonder if, in my head, when I'm thinking of designee, I'm curious, have they touched base with that school to work coordinator, or have they looked
Yeah.
at those? But, I don't have a problem. We figure there were about 18 a year.
yeah,
Wow.
That, Jody can schedule those. It is just one more hoop for that.
I know.
But
I just worry about some of the students who have stated that, some of the struggles that they've had, and
I think I would like to meet them. I like the flexibility that if I'm not available for some reason, I can have a different designee, but I'd like to schedule and touch base with them and have
Yeah.
that check out.
because in a lot of cases, the kids really are just ready to move on and they have legitimate reasons and, but, I always feel like, are we catching the one or two that,
Might not realize they can
Yeah.
just continue to go to school for the rest of the year, completing the apprenticeship and not.
yeah,
All right. I think we have, but it just gives one more check and balance. All right. Ed, any thoughts on that?
No, I'm good.
No, this is just related to that.
So what I did was I took the language from the rule and moved it over to the policy,
Mhm.
so that there's gonna be a proposal to delete the rule.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we would be deleting the rule, it's all.
It's
Yeah.
all policy, yeah.
All right. This one, we didn't have any suggestions. This was a request, Ed, that you wanted to discuss the public participation.
My thought about why I wanted this brought up to the committee to consider was, the verbal comment period. The concept I was going to recommend is that anybody speaking in public is required to submit either, some sort of documented, this is what I'm saying, so it's part of the record. So even though they're verbalizing it, we would want them to provide a typed out or handwritten copy of what they're presenting that night. So it can be a matter of the record, written record.
Well, it is part of record because it's being recorded.
Okay.
How does that work? Is it part of the record if they're,
It would be part of the minutes that they made a public comment, and then also the meeting is recorded, so it would be on the district's website as well.
So that makes it public record because it's, yeah.
and what's your thinking there? You want it on?
My concern is that sometimes people don't even sign in. Some of them don't even state, they barely state their name. I'm just, when things go sideways and we don't have any proper records, then we're all looking at each other. Why aren't we doing this differently? And that's my concern.
Yeah, and we
I see
don't,
where you're going. And
Yeah.
I like where you're going.
yeah, that's a good point.
I definitely like where you're going with this, Ed. I don't know if I would say they have to, because a lot of people speak off the cuff. But maybe we have something else of when you sign in, getting that a little bit, I'll call it stricter, or if you speak, submit have a separate card or something that has name and address on it or something like that.
Like when I go up to the Capitol to speak or testify on something, I have to fill out a card and that gets turned in, and then that could be turned into the board president, and then you could call on the individuals that will say their name and their address
Yeah.
Yes.
to verify.
Yep.
Because they don't have to live in the district if they're parents of an
Correct.
open enrolled student.
Correct.
So we could create that documentation or that form. So then it's not so much as the public comment tonight, it's that process is there that there is no public comment tonight because nobody submitted, or we do have public comment tonight and so your first step.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. That's excellent.
I like that as great. I think that's a great suggestion. So if we want to work on some language to add that into this policy, that would be great.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I like this process too, Jason. I think that's fantastic. And then Julia can call on them. My only question would be,
Then she would know too, if we have 30 minutes for public comment,
Right.
you've got X number of people that it's going to need to
Sure.
Right.
be adjusted. Either the board vote to lengthen it or
Yep.
address, the amount of time each one.
and we're gonna have to put something in there that that has to be submitted by 6 o'clock. Because if somebody comes in and tries to turn the card in at 6:02,
Right,
we can't take it.
okay.
So here's my my two thoughts on that. Number one, the with the timing frame, it would have to be, so I guess they're molded into what happens if you have an individual that gets motivated to speak based off of what somebody else is saying. Like I would, me personally, I would say, hey, if I'm cool with the card, I'm cool with, hey, let's go ahead and get this all on actual documented record on who wants to be speaking. But my only concern is what happens if in the middle of the public comment period, somebody's like, this is perfect, I want to be able to speak on this specific issue, whatever that issue may be, and they just can't because, well, or before
Yeah.
Great point, Devin.
the meeting.
Great point. So do we allow the cards to be filled out during the other speakers?
I think so. I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
And if time remains,
Yeah.
you know, if we hit 6:30 and maybe that.
You'll be allowed to submit during the committee participation, but priority goes to the first 10 that submit before 6, something like that. We were so close, Devin. You and
Sorry, I'm always throwing in wrenches. I'm sorry.
keep your good point.
Good comment.
I mean, I can see a scenario where somebody who, you know, would like to respond to something that somebody has said, it's after 6 o'clock, they submit a card, but their card goes to the bottom of the pile. You know what I mean?
Do you, I guess, does that create a, for lack of a better term, a debate type situation with
Right.
public comment rather
Right.
than you're just coming to share your comment or your idea?
Right.
You always have the next board meeting and public comment to which somebody could share a different public comment if they wanted to. I just, you know, are we going to allow someone who made a public comment earlier and then someone responds to that, presenting a different
Right,
scenario,
now do
let
they
that
get
person
another
come
chance?
back and fill out another public comment card?
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, having a number placed on it, hey, you can only have one public comment is not a. When it comes to that, I mean, that doesn't happen now, and we're
Right.
no holds barred right now. What happens? I do have a question about online participation. Do we allow for individuals to be on like Zoom or I'm sorry, on our Google Meet and be able to give comments as well, or no? I'm just trying to figure out to do something there.
No,
Not currently.
yeah, we talked about that.
All right, thank you.
Be present
Or it can be read for them.
or read for them, right?
I mean, we could put language in there that says one public comment per person per meeting. You know,
So that it doesn't encourage debate.
debate.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. I think for that language, because we didn't have anything proposed there, maybe we should
Yeah,
look at that and then bring it back for the next meeting
yeah.
rather than.
What
just
are your
throwing it.
thoughts, Ed, on the discussion that we've been having?
Yeah, no, I think we need to, you know, amend this language a little bit and bring it back. And then we can debate, you know, some more about limiting it to, say what you need to say and then move on. You can talk about 5 different things if you want, but you're limited to 3 minutes. But you're not going to get up and take another 3 minutes is I think
Yeah.
the point I'm hearing.
Agree with that.
All right. Okay, any other discussion on the public participation?
We nixed the idea of putting it at the end.
Oh,
right?
I'm not in favor of that at all.
I agree. I just want to make sure we're still,
Yeah,
the flow is still proper.
okay.
Do we want to put language in there that allows the board or you as the administrator to be able to clarify anything any statement that's been made in public comment?
I mean, there's no language that restricts that.
Okay.
But. And from the legal standpoint.
I know, again, we don't want to get into a debate situation.
It's, you can't speak to or take action on an item that's not on the, you can't take action on an item that's not on the agenda, but you can clarify points or if there's perceived misinformation or clarification needed. I know we've generally held a practice just not to comment at
Correct.
all, but you can comment, you just can't comment in a way that would be construed as formulating an action down the road
Sure.
because it's not on the agenda.
Or even speaking for the board as a whole when there hasn't been discussion about.
So, yeah, so that's probably where it is a little safer to have the superintendent
Yeah,
respond or
Yep.
provide clarification because I don't have a vote
Correct.
on board actions.
Right.
That's the
yeah,
board's
and I'm totally comfortable with that.
Okay. All right. Ed, what time did you need to be done today?
I can go to 1:30.
Okay, we do have the close for the exit interviews. The next items we didn't put on as working, we just put on because they were requested policies for the committee to consider for future work.
Mhm.
So we want to go through and basically have the committee determine, do you want us to put these on future agendas for consideration or not? And the 4 policies are there. First, Devin had submitted these. These were, first one was controversial issues in the classroom.
I have not had a chance to read through these.
Okay.
I did a little bit. Devin, do you have any, do you have context or do you want to?
I do, and I am perfect, which is giving a brief idea of kind of what each one is, and then allowing the committee to work as needed. That's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to show up today, is just so you guys had a brief idea of kind of where my mindset was when I submitted these. Number issues in the classroom. It basically over the idea that controversial issues are going to happen in a school setting, and that there needs to be guidelines to make sure that those controversial issues don't get out of hand. That we're not being, that the school district specifically is not being, that those guidelines are set into place to make sure that nobody can say that, hey, the teacher is lack of a better term. Okay, like I can't think right this second about what I'm trying to think of, but like aren't brainwashing the kids. Like it's got definitions in there, specific ideas of how that should look to make sure that everything is being above reproach as they're going along with these controversial issues. Now we can define what those controversial issues are specifically, but as our nation, as our country, as our society is going through so many different changes throughout the on a day-to-day basis, I think me personally leaving it as broad as possible and allowing us to define that as on a case-by-case basis allows us wiggle room to be able to deal with this a little bit easier as things are going along. That was the first one. Again, we're not going to, if you guys have any questions as we're going along, I can kind of answer them, but we can go over each one just real quick. This next one is dealing with, we've been talking a lot about the gender support plan and how that kind of affects like the parents' rights of the individual. Excuse me, the parents' rights of the individual. What we have to be able to do legally. In addition to that, there was also a court case that just came out of Waukesha County here recently, dealing with Kettle Moraine. In addition to the this gender identity and the ability for the individual to be able to list their gender and their name in regards to the school district. The school district at that time was refused to adhere to what the parents were wanting to have happen. This policy would basically prevent that from happening. Not that I'm saying that it does happen or is going to happen, but this does allow us to be able to put it in context of the court case that did just come out here. I think it was last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago now. It basically allows for the parent to be able to decide whether or not they want those changes at the school or not.
Isn't this something that is gonna be addressed in the gender support plan? Okay,
It is a topic I have not, Ron Stadler
right,
indicated that he'd have it back to me by the end of last week, but
okay,
I didn't get anything yet, so
Okay.
probably I'm expecting it this week. I did ask him also, Devin, to speak to the court case, because that was a Waukesha County court case, correct?
correct.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know, so I asked him to speak to that from the legal perspective, whatever impact or advice he has on that, because I thought that was a little bit different route, because that wasn't through the federal circuit, it was through the Waukesha County Court.
Correct.
So I have no idea. I'm fascinated to see what his legal interpretation or understanding of it is in light of that. And I don't know if Ron he may have been the lawyer for Kettle Moraine or for the parents, I don't remember,
I believe
because he
it was.
represents both sides.
I believe it
so.
was. I saw his name in the article.
Okay. So I'll be curious to see when we get that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
feedback.
The next one is one that I
Hold on.
Hold on. This one, where, I don't know why, I'm all for using the lawyer, by the way, so I don't mean to poo-poo that, because I can't wait to see his report.
Right.
But does this have, what are the legal implications on this? What are we,
I think that's, I would
Oh, yeah.
recommend, getting the legal advice.
Correct.
Either way.
And if it's being addressed in the gender support plan, it doesn't need to be
a separate
a
policy?
separate policy. And we've actually received legal advice not to have that as
So
policy.
that's where I'm going with this.
So-
This would have legal implications.
Correct,
Honestly, I don't, that's where I would have Ron check. I-
right,
is
yeah, so
that-
I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole until we get
Yeah.
legal advice.
I'm with that.
Yeah,
Mr. Gatton?
I mean, I am perfect if the if we're gonna still included into that.
You're really breaking up, Evan.
I'm so sorry. Hold on one second. I know.
2020.
Can you guys hear me?
Ish?
no, we can't hear you now if you're talking.
Would we give this as written to Ron? Or,
I think we can. These are taken from the Wisconsin Institute of Law and Liberty website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can have Ron give his, I think it's a valid question that Devin's asking in light of the Waukesha County Court case, but I thought that was interesting that they went through county court instead of through the federal court. And I know that there was very little comment made because the court or Kettle Moraine indicated that, what was it, the ongoing litigation, meaning I'm sure they're
Yeah,
appealing.
it's not a done deal. I mean, it is for
No.
now, but
Well,
until another court.
and I don't know how binding or what, I'm really curious to find out, no, I don't care either way, I just want what is the
Right.
best legal
Right.
advice and interpretation so we don't have
Right.
issues down the road.
Exactly.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay now?
Yes.
Hebron is notorious for terrible. Anyways, and I board wants to kind of a board policy and try to put it inside the gender support program. I am and always will be a supporter of the parent being able to decide this issue, because we're talking about adult. We're talking about a minor child, and the parent has those rights to be able to make those decisions for those children, as to it, being informed and notified of what's going on. And so, as long as we're, hey, I'm cool with it. Again, this is just kind of briefly explain out to you guys, and this information out to you guys.
Hey, Hey, Devin and et al., I wonder, and this would be a question for Ron, but Devin, that seems to be a specific statement that you're making, which I agree with, is the parents, I'm gonna just say right to know, can we make that its own policy that says when a gender plan starts or whatever the kickoff is, that the parent has to be informed within X amount of time? Can that be its own policy?
I think that we've kind of
Like,
talked to,
So what I'm hearing is we want to hear from Ron.
yes.
yes,
Yes.
Either way. Okay,
Yes.
everybody's in agreement with
Yes.
that. All right.
you're right.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm like I said,
Right.
this is first off.
Yeah, I'm like, until we talk to him, it's.
Yep, you're right,
It won't matter.
This one right here that we're going to go over, human growth and instructions. This is one that we already have a policy for. This fine tunes it a little bit. That questions about the human growth portion of the curriculum, and so this kind of just goes into a little bit deeper into that and how we want. If we have a committee that goes over this, is that correct, Jason?
He's breaking up again.
We got it again.
So, if, Devin, did you take our existing policy and make changes to it? Or did you just write a whole new one?
So this is from Will.
Oh,
So it's an all new one. So
Okay.
we need to cross-reference what the
yeah, I was gonna
current
say, it
policy
needs to
is
get
and see what the
cross-referenced.
difference
I need to
is.
see a comparison of what we have and,
Okay. All right.
So what's the action item here? This is, do we want to?
So I guess the question is, yeah, so when we're looking at this, what I'm hearing on, we need to know from the policy committee, do you want to bring this back for review, controversial issues in the classroom to review, revise, tweak, or possibly make this a new policy? Because we don't have a current
right.
controversial issues in the classroom policy.
So 1 and 4 come back for review, 2 and 3 go to Ron. Because I wouldn't have a problem going deeper with controversial issues and right?
Well, I don't know that the human growth and development one needs to
Sorry.
go to Ron at this point.
Yeah, my notes were wrong, sorry.
I'd like to see a comparison
Comparison.
between the two side by side. Maybe we make some tweaks to the existing one
Yeah.
based on what we're seeing in this one, but.
Well, yeah, I'd like to know what, if any, impact this has on because we do teach human growth and development instruction, what that committee outlined as far as from our standards because it looks like this kind of intertwines with that. Am I right, Sarah? I'm
Well,
looking at you just because
well,
that-
I'm curious because Devin, what's different than what we're currently doing right now?
Can you guys hear me okay now?
Yeah, for now.
Okay. All right. For now, we'll run with that. Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me pull it up real quick. I'm on my phone now instead of my computer.
Oh, that's- Well, then, why don't, for time's sake, Devin, why don't we just plan on putting this on a future agenda then and we can cross.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yes, please.
Because really today was just to determine, do we want to
Yeah.
cross, how do we want to handle the request?
And that's my bad, I needed to get glasses, I
Yeah.
couldn't see
Okay.
before there.
And then the last one was the right to review professional development materials. Which they do already
I
have the
was
right,
just gonna
but-
say, are we just stating in policy something that we already do in practice, or?
There has been so basically there's been a lot of discussion about, hey, what can a parent get? What can a parent not get? We do it in practice, but nothing actually sets in stone what we can and cannot give, when we cannot give it, etc. I know there have been Jason's spoken a few times about like a parent, like that they need to, I need to add it to this policy, by the way, but I know that they have to pay for the documentation and the time. Like adding that type of stuff in there just gives clear transparency to everybody involved, what is needed, what needs to happen, what they have, what their rights are, etc. That way there's no confusion
Sure.
on where this is.
Sure.
Do we not have any policy to that effect?
We have an open records request
We have
policy.
open records.
To administer records regardless of format. There's some trainings that, for example,
Right. Because we're proprietary.
Project Lead the Way from copyright and so forth,
Right.
that only that teacher who
Right.
we've paid for the subscription can get access to and so forth. So
Correct.
we could, look at this and cross-reference it to the, open records request and or, look at it as, I see what you're saying, Devin, just from the communication standpoint, so that it's clear.
Yep.
Maybe it's something that goes into the open records request.
Sure.
I like it. Yeah, I'm cool with that. However the policy committee wants to handle it, I'm cool with it.
All right, I would like to, I guess my recommendation would be that we look at adding language into the open records request.
Okay.
And then that gives an opportunity to review that policy as well and
Sure.
update any fee structure, that handling how we want. I think there needs to be some clarification in there in the sense that there may be some that we just, to be frank, can't get
Right.
Yeah,
access to, like when it says in materials and let's see. Whenever, I don't know, whenever I see the word all, I don't know if I can necessarily deliver on all the time.
Sure.
If I don't have access to it, that's not an open record. If that
Yep.
makes sense.
can we, I like what you said about the restrictions. Can we somehow define why, I mean, I understand it, but what and why we have those restrictions and just put it in there somehow with words that anybody can see it? We can't give you Project Lead the Way because it is copyrighted. Just have that written in there and say, if somebody asks us about it, this is why. But I'd also like to know as specific as we could get, like, why can't, I get it, it's copyright, there's legal issues, but why can't we? Like, that's still.
That's why it fits in that open records piece and into that statute. Because
So
if you
if-
don't have the record, you don't have the record.
Right.
I mean, if I don't have the material, I don't have the material because they go off to get that training material.
Okay. Okay.
Now, if they have the document or we have the document, then that would be different. We have an obligation to provide it if requested or, if we have it, but we're not obligated to create a document if we don't have it or it doesn't exist.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Right.
It does. I just like to define it and refer to,
For example, if we have 5 people attending the state conference,
Mhm.
we may not have those materials that are presented at that conference.
Correct.
We would have maybe notes that an individual took, but
Right.
we aren't the proprietary owner of
Right.
those slideshows and those
Correct.
presentations. So
Right.
that we
Understood.
can't reproduce. I
Right.
mean, that's very common. If we go to CISA 2, we may have an agenda, but we don't own the slideshow and can't
sure,
Right.
push that out.
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. But I think that would fit well within open records.
Yeah.
Piece. All right, so we're clear on those items right now
Yeah.
for future agenda?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's, review 1 and 4 for sure. And then number 2, we need legal advice on.
Yeah, we should have that soon.
What's the process there? Do you meet with him? Do we talk to him
I
close?
he has the GSP, the general sport plan, he's supposed to send back, here's all my
Right.
recommended
Okay.
changes.
Right.
Okay.
And then number 3, we can review at the next one as well, just in light of what our current policy is, and let's see what melding we want to do, if any.
And as it relates to what's interesting, and I don't want to get ahead of myself on it, but as it relates to the notification, we already knew there's no magic time frame on that. That was something that there was no requirement, nothing, ours was 10-day, we could certainly
Yep.
shift to 48 hour, whatever, that was
Right.
just something that we
It was-
had
Right.
actually chosen to put a time frame in where a lot of them didn't have that. And then the other piece was, he mentioned that he didn't necessarily agree with the common law legal advice related to the name change and minors in there, which it said may have from the legal advice it would receive previously, which, that's why I'm really curious to see, because the case that he was just dealing with was related to
Yes.
name and minor, so we'll see what his update is on that.
Yep.
But he didn't necessarily agree with the other lawyer's legal interpretation of the
Correct.
common law name changing rights.
Correct.
That were listed in the GSP, so I'll be curious to see that. So that very well may be in alignment with what this proposed language says.
Yep.
All right,
All right, so do we need to adjourn to?
we do need to adjourn to
Close.
close so we can approve those, yeah? All right, we need a motion to adjourn to close.
I move, oh, go ahead.
A motion to adjourn to closed session. Right there.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Have a good day, Melissa.